It all starts with this little white search bar, but behind it is a massive empire that's currently under fire. Welcome to the US versus Google antitrust trial. Tech titan Google found its foundations in this iconic search bar, but now the US Justice Department is stepping forward, challenging the king of search engines. In this historic antitrust showdown, the question isn't just about innovative design or marketing brilliance, but allegations of shadowy deals and unchecked dominance. Let's dive in. Think about it. Who do you turn to whenever you have a burning question? Most of us don't call a friend or grab an encyclopedia anymore. Instead, we turn to that digital oracle in our pockets, and more often than not, its name is Google. There are other search engines out there, but 90% of the world uses Google to find the information they want, making Google and its parent Alphabet ridiculously rich. Here's a little sneak peek into their genius strategy. Imagine you're on a hunt for the perfect latte. Local coffee shops know you're searching, and they're in a fierce battle to outbid each other just so that you see them first on your quest for caffeine. You click on one, maybe grab that cup of joe, but behind the scenes, that cafe just drops some cash into Google's pocket. Yep, that's the magic of Google Ads. So how lucrative is this for Google? Well, just last year, they raked in over $160 billion just from the ads and search itself. But here's the kicker. You get a shiny new phone powered up, and who's there to greet you? Google. Ever wonder why? Well, the US government, along with 52 attorney generals, claim Google paid billions to big names like Apple to make sure its search engine was the default choice on most phones and browsers. Leading the government's case is Kenneth Dintzer. His strategy includes testimonies from key figures such as Hal Varian, previously Google's chief economist, and Sridhar Ramaswamy, co-founder of the defunct search engine Neeva. Now, 3 years ago, the Justice Department accused Google of monopolizing online search and advertising. I'm talking about those sweet deals with Apple, Motorola, Samsung, and Verizon. Google search became the default on most US phones. Because of this, rivals like Microsoft can't get enough data to refine their search. This gives Google a scale advantage that's, well, not so competitive. Plus, without any real threat, Google might not have the need to innovate. For over a decade, Google has held its position as the default search engine on Apple devices, pouring immense sums of money into this agreement, possibly reaching a $19 billion payout this year alone. Goldman Sachs reports that Google's payments to Apple have skyrocketed past $120 billion cumulatively. In 2022 alone, Google forked out an amount that comprised of a third of their total net income to Apple alone. This hefty sum boosted Apple's earnings by a quarter and is the driving force behind 75% of Apple's research and development activities. In comparison, Google's approach with Android is different. They give Android partners just 11% of the revenue from searches, much less than the 25% forked over to Apple. Some speculate that Android's main purpose might not be to profit from the platform, but rather a cost-saving strategy. The government says these deals were sneaky. They kept rival search engines out, allowing Google to strengthen its grip on the market. And get this, it's the biggest antitrust case since the late 90s. But let's clear up some misconceptions. Google isn't on trial for being successful or innovative. The real question is, has Google become too big and turned into a monopoly? And if so, have they abused that powerful position? Well, first, the prosecutors need to prove if Google's dominance is truly a monopoly. Google might argue, hey, we're in a tough market and could lose our edge at any time. But if the prosecution can show Google isn't really worried about competition, then boom, monopoly label. But I don't think Google's really unbothered by its competition. They're more concerned by Microsoft Bing's recent AI improvements. Though Bing isn't likely to topple Google's dominance anytime soon, the search engine landscape could be shifting, notably with Bing potentially negotiating for the primary search spot on all Apple devices. Of course, Microsoft wanting that spot could end up just meaning that Google's now going to have to pay even more money to retain its default status on Apple devices. If Bing replaces Google on Apple devices, Google could face a significant financial setback. Just in regions like Europe and Asia, the impact could be a notable 7% in Google's operating income. Now, Google firmly believes it hasn't crossed any antitrust lines. They mentioned in a January court filing that their browser deals were all about legitimate competition, and there was nothing illicit about it. Google stresses that its agreements never acted as roadblocks for rivals. They didn't stop the birth of new search engines or prevent big players like Apple and Mozilla from giving them a promotional push. But why did many phones and browsers set Google as their go-to search engine? Well, Google says it's simple: quality. Okay, so let's talk deals for a second. Google says that partnering with companies like Apple is about promoting competition. They supply browser providers with exactly what they want, a top-notch default search option. Apple, Mozilla, and the rest, they choose Google not because of some sneaky incentives, but because Google's search engine is just that good. Putting it into perspective, Kent Walker, Google's president of global affairs, once wrote, "People don't use Google because they have to, they use it because it's helpful." And now Apple's senior vice president of services, Eddie Q, is testifying about Apple's $19 billion search deal with Google. He is anticipated to state that Apple chose Google for its superior search capabilities. Notably, he will highlight that Apple hasn't ventured into developing a search engine, primarily because Google already provides an efficient solution. Furthermore, Q is poised to reveal that Apple maintains revenue sharing agreements with other search engine contenders, including Yahoo, Microsoft Bing, and DuckDuckGo, ensuring users have options beyond just Google. And in this landmark antitrust case between Google and the Department of Justice, understanding the intricacies of search engine development is of course vital. So you'd expect that the judge presiding over this case, who is tasked with deciding whether Google has used a string of illegal business deals to cement the dominance of its ubiquitous search engine, has enough knowledge about everything that they're talking about. But according to a recent Ars Technica report, Judge Amit Mehta faced challenges in comprehending very basic technological aspects that are crucial to the case. This case goes back over 10 years, a time when our phones, computers, and how we searched on the internet, well, quite frankly, changed a lot. For instance, there was a moment where Judge Mehta seemed unsure if Mozilla Firefox was something we use to browse the internet like Chrome, or if it was a search tool like Google. Additionally, he needed more clarity about how Google and Bing show ads to users and how these companies might work together or against each other in the world of online advertising. So while Judge Mehta's expertise in law is unquestionable, this case underscores the importance of technological literacy. Some argue that perhaps for a trial of this nature, a more tech-savvy judge could have been ideal, but I don't think that that's necessarily something that's going to be easy to find. We've seen the charges and heard Google's defense, but what if Google loses? First off, the US and its allies aren't looking for money. Instead, they want an injunction, stopping Google from its alleged anti-competitive practices. One major implication of the government suggests that the court might split up Google. Yes, you heard that right, break up the tech giant, although this scenario is considered extreme. Moreover, the DOJ might aim to prevent Google from using its search dominance to clinch exclusive deals, especially in upcoming areas like artificial intelligence. But let's speculate. If Judge Amit Mehta does rule against Google, the major change could be in the way Google deals with partners like Apple and Samsung. Many analysts believe that a company breakup would be drastic. Paul Gallant from Cowen Washington Research Group believes a more natural remedy would be restrictions on Google's business deals rather than a full-blown breakup. The trial itself is a marathon, spanning about 10 weeks, but don't expect a ruling until sometime in 2024. So there you have it, folks. The technology that plays a huge role in all of our lives may soon be changed by government meddling. Now, I've seen this happen recently in Canada with Bill C-18, where suddenly all the news media organizations are no longer allowed to show up on social media, and I can't help but wonder if the government had any idea what they were doing and the problems that they've caused for regular small media companies. And I can't help but wonder if the government overplays their hand here and it ultimately results in a worse consumer experience for all of us. All right, everybody, thank you for watching. If you could do me a big favor, please hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Let me know what you think in the comment section. So guys, we just recently launched this channel and we noticed that 99.9% of our viewers are not subscribed. So if you enjoyed this video, we need your help in growing this channel. By subscribing, that would help us keep the lights on and make sure that our crews have jobs in these uncertain times. So please hit that subscribe button, and we promise to make more quality videos that I'm sure you're going to love.